Hello, welcome everybody to our last big old check-in before the AP Lit exam begins. You should be able to see some slides that say AP Lit check-in. You can go to the bit.ly link displayed there, bit.ly AP Lit check-in for these exact slides you see. If you aren't here right now, you're watching a recording that I made because I maybe forgot to click the into the correct room for the meet. So I hope some of you did not get lost or think I forgot about you. I was just in the wrong room. Um, it can only happen online. It doesn't happen in the actual school building usually, but so I apologize about that, but you're here watching this now, so welcome. All right, so just reminding you one last time, AP Lit exam is 2 p.m. on Wednesday, May 13th. The College Board has asked you to log in early, though, 30 minutes early at 1:30 to begin setting up your or setting up or getting ready for your exam. So what happens in that first 30 minutes before the exam starts? Well, you're going to be asked some questions to identify who you are, to display or to prove to the College Board that you are who you are and you're not, just trying to take the exam for somebody else. So they're going to ask you some identification questions. I think they might ask you for a short writing sample to check against how you write on the exam. So please show up at 1:30, get set up so you don't have the stress of hoping that maybe you are in the right place, but actually logging in early and being ready at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock exactly, that's when your exam will load and you'll see the questions, and then you'll have 50 minutes to complete the AP Lit exam. And the timer will read 50 minutes and tick on down until 5 minutes is remaining. It'll turn red and you have to submit your work there. So you have really 45 minutes to read and complete the response for the exam, but the timer will read for 50 minutes. So again, that 50 minutes starts at 2. Everyone begins the exam at the exact same time across the nation. So be there or don't get a grade. Don't if you don't show up to the exam, if you don't log in, they will automatically register you for the makeup exam, but you don't have a choice. You should take this exam on the 13th. The makeup exam is only for people who have issues that they aren't able to, for instance, a religious reason, or maybe you have an injury or your internet is dead or something. Plan to take the May 13th exam. You don't really have a choice between the two unless there's some issue causing you to be absent. Okay. The reference sheet. So I already got a few questions from y'all about the reference sheet. Good questions such as, can we use this on the exam, or can we make edits to this week? Absolutely. So what I have done is giving you an example here, and I posted this last week on the stream after my first check-in. If you click this link, it's just going to make a copy of it. And if you use mine, I ask that you make a copy of it and don't log on to the shared copy of this. I say that because if everybody is sitting on a shared document during the exam, then that looks real bad on us. It looks like we're cheating because we are all sharing the same document and outlining on this shared Google Doc. So make a copy and make sure that you don't try to or accidentally share this with your classmates. Again, to make a copy of a doc, you click on File and then you click on Make a Copy. I will probably lock my original copy or something, so people can't even load it during the exam. So make sure you make your copies this week. My example reference sheet has some words of advice. Don't panic, but then also don't Google. And I'll talk more about this later, but basically they are saying do not use internet research of any sort to help you complete your exam. It's just going to waste time. So once you're working on the exam, simply you need the text, the prompt, your reference sheet, and your brain, and obviously Google Docs to type your essay in. The first part of my reference sheet, I've included a sort of pacing guide. So when the clock is flashing 50, I know I'm reading the prompt, reading the text. Once I get to 43, I'm outlining. By the time I see a 40 minutes, I have my thesis written. My intro is being worked on when it's flashing 38. And then after 35 minutes, I'm working my bodies and conclusion. So in the first 15 minutes, really, I have time to read the prompt, build an introduction, create a thesis statement, and then the rest of the time working my body. This pacing guide is unique maybe to me. I did some practice and I just wrote down what I was doing at certain times. But if you were watching AP Live today, you also got to see another pacing, and it was a little different. And I only, to be honest, I didn't watch the whole thing. I was doing some other stuff. But basically, at the time, I mean, they had it paced down to like 48 minutes. I wrote down at 48, they said, you're done reading the prompt. You should start reading the passage. So they're like, say, 2 minutes to read the prompt. It may be a little bit more granular. If you watched AP Live today, you can drop a line in the chat and say, hey, it helped. Did it help you with the pacing? I'm curious if anyone watched the YouTube stream today. I'm going to go back and look at it after they archive it and see how they are pacing it. Okay, so the next section, I just have sort of like stuff to look for. Most of these prompts are really about a character and their relationship or their development. So I had a whole little section of character related questions, and I tried to make them really, really short. Like, what do they want? How do they interact? How does the setting relate? Are there conflicts? Providing yourself a giant list of long sentences and long questions is just going to be too much to read through if you're taking the exam with the College Board. So try to keep this list and the reference sheet short, but also useful. Pretty much every passage is going to have some complexity, probably driven by some ironic element or a juxtaposition. So just trying to remind myself some of those key terms to look for and to use. The last part of my piece is just a space to outline. So you cannot annotate on the test on the College Board test. If you are not signed up to take the College Board test, yes, you can still use your reference sheet, but you are also going to be able to like look at a Google Doc of the document and do what you will with Google Docs, whether it's highlighting and copy and pasting and stuff. So just be aware, those of you taking the College Board are a little bit more constrained by the requirements of the testing software and the window and things. So, but what I was getting at is you aren't able to annotate the text as they present it to you. And you could see this when you do the demo that I'll show you in a sec. You aren't able to annotate the text. So you're going to need to think about how the text is structured and maybe jot down some evidence that you'll want to use. I would recommend using this document printed off so you can read your screen and jot down some ideas. And when you're thinking about a passage, try to think about it in sections, right? So what are like the 3 sections? So this is making me think about structural details that indicate shifts or events. So the first, middle, and end. So think about those 3 parts and then talk about how those work to reveal meaning that you might need to analyze. This is real broad here, but maybe it's asking us about the relationship 2 characters have. Well, then now I'm going to be thinking what is revealed about their relationship for this column. And then the third column would be my sort of key evidence to go look for. And remember, and this is something Ms. Barber talked about, 9 words or less for each piece of evidence. You're not putting giant quotes in here. Instead, kind of pepper the reader with key specific evidence. And I don't have the rubrics up, but they are looking for specific evidence. And that means short quotes that really hone in on key details that you can then flesh out in your analysis. Okay, last thing on my reference sheet, a place for you to write your thesis statement. I also have like, what does the prompt ask for? So when I'm reading an exam question, I'm going to write down, what the prompt is asking for. This is last week's work, It's asking about the attitude towards the past, right? That's the thing that we're looking for. So please just write that down in big letters, and then I develop my thesis by the end of my reading. And I do this all on a passage, but you guys are going to have to do it on your computer screen. So you could do this in your Google Doc, on a reference sheet that you print off. There you go. So that's my little talk about reference sheets. Any questions about reference sheets, feel free to drop them in the chat box, and I'll jump on those questions. All right, gonna close this out. Gonna jump here. Okay, so the next thing, I'm gonna try to move through the next slides pretty quickly because they are all resources that you have access to on your computers, and something that it'll probably serve you better to just go through it on your own and read it word for word. But the first thing is the AP exam day checklist. Depending on how many tests that you're taking, you should fill out a checklist for each of those tests. And the checklist looks exactly the same test. You should, if you have a printer, print this off at home and then fill it out and go through the checklist. So you have an AP ID, the name of your exam, when it's happening, and then all the things that you do to get ready for the exam. I can check the boxes. That's neat. Maybe you want to check these off on your computer screen and then print it off, or print it off and do it by hand. But if you go through this checklist, you're going to feel comfortable starting the exam, and you're going to feel comfortable during the exam if something goes wrong, because you'll have the resources here to request a makeup, for instance, and how to actually navigate through that. So the checklist is helpful. If you want hard copies and don't have a printer, please email me. I have a handful of stamps and envelopes, and I have my own printer. So feel free to let me know if you need hard copies. Okay, so that's the checklist. Next, AP testing guide. So this giant beast of a PDF is the released sort of slide deck or PowerPoint presentation from College Board about AP testing. It's 51 slides. They ask us to go through these with you guys. I would say I'm not going to read every slide to you. I'm going to point out a few things. But if you go through this slide again, it's going to answer a lot of questions you have about the test. Like literally everything you need to know in here: when testing happens, if your scores will count. All these things are answered in this slide deck. So your ticket is going to be sent to you 2 days before the test. So look for these on Monday. Today, you should have gotten an email from College Board, maybe even earlier than today. You should have got an email that said how many or which exams you were registered for. So check your email to make sure you have the confirmation that you're registered for a certain exam if you're expecting one. And then the ticket is sent to you 2 days before the exam. This is unique to you. You can't send it to somebody else. The link is your unique link, and it's going to get you into your exam. And you're going to go here 30 minutes before exam starts. So look to your email for that. Oh, also, if you don't have it in your email or you can't find it, log into myap.collegeboard.org to find your e-tickets there as well. Again, they're assigned to you or sent to you 2 days before the test. Okay. I'm going to move to here. Something to note is that there's a couple things here. So really, you got to work hard to talk to your folks about making sure you have the best testing environment possible. The exam is shorter this year to make it a little bit more likely that you will not be interrupted and that you'll get a fair shot at the exam. So please make sure that you try to talk to your parents to make sure you have a good space to test, and that they'll help minimize distractions for you. If you don't get a 3 or higher, I'm able to request a review of and confirmation of your score. I believe it's 2 weeks after you take the test. It might be maybe 3 weeks after. I'm going to get copies of everyone's exam, but I don't get to see your score till July. I think the date last year was July 4th, but it's somewhere around the first week of July, I'll see your exam scores. Um, I think they're using this as a way to kind of to ward off any bad feelings or nervousness about the fairness of the exam. Um, I don't think I've ever seen a student score and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they got that." Um, Generally, students score what I'm thinking that they're going to score, or if they don't score, or the mark that they said they would. There's probably reasons behind that. Um, so just be aware that there is sort of this plan in place. If I'm like absolutely shocked at your exam score, I'll be able to request a rescore, and I assume that it'll come back with the very clear, like, oh, this is the score, and it's still the score. I mean, all your exams are being reviewed by, I believe, at least 2 readers this year. In years past, each of your essay was reviewed by one reader, each for each. So maybe 3 people were reading your exam across 3 different essays. If there's discrepancies, they would send it off to another reader, and so there would be multiple people reading then. But this year, one exam essay is going to be read by at least 2 people. So that means that they're probably going to be even more sure of what your exam score should be. So I just wanted to note that. So when you're doing the exam online, you have 3 options. You should probably pick the first option here, copy and paste the typed response. So you'll just have a Google Doc open where you'll type your essay, and you'll hit Control A or select everything, copy it, and then paste it into the demo. You can try this exact process on your own with the demo login this week, so you can make sure that works for you. That should probably be the fastest way. That's the least likely to be messed up by slow internet, because it's just text. If you decide to download files and upload files, Google Docs or something, that might produce some more issues. So I think the copy and paste method is the best. Follow the directions here to figure that out. This is something you'll practice with the demo, and they provide you directions in the test on how it works. So make sure you're following them. I'm going to move along here. Let me take a screenshot of the list since we're here anyways, just because you got to be here. Awesome. So if you have accommodations through the College Board, and if you'll know you have accommodations if you do. I don't think anybody in our list is in that situation. They also have a thing, like if you have a temporary affliction, like for instance, if you've sustained a medical condition, a physical condition, like you've injured your hand, you can request temporary assistance as well. So they have some plans in place if you need accommodations. I would say these probably don't apply to you guys, so I'm going to move on here. If you have to request a makeup, you fill out this form at cb.org/request makeup. Make sure you follow the guidelines for the form. Basically, you should know this: if you fail to submit your exam on time, you do not get to make up your exam. So please follow the timer and do that. But for instance, if you are taking the exam and your power goes out, yes, you should request a makeup form. If your internet goes out during the exam, but you're still writing a sweet essay because you can write offline on your computer, and then it comes back up and you log back in and you're able to submit your awesome essay, then you don't have to submit a makeup form. But if you felt like you did not have a fair shot at the test because of some outside occurrence, then you should fill out the makeup form. And you're going to be told by May 25 whether or not you have been granted the makeup testing date. If you do not show up to the first testing day, the 13th, you'll automatically be sent a ticket for the makeup day. You won't have to submit a makeup form if you just don't show up on the first day. Something to note. Yes. Let's talk about getting ready for the exam. So going on to College Board to review your contact information, do that this week. Make sure your tech works by doing the demo. Do the demo, practice submitting a response. Gather your documents. We have no documents required for ours except our reference sheet. And this sheet is being continually updated on their website, the exam day docs. If you're taking like math or statistics, there's more documents you need to have ready. Check your confirmation email tickets. I've already said these things, so let's add this. So everyone, if you haven't been listening for a minute, please do this now. And this will probably be found out if you do the demo this week. But if you have the Grammarly plugin installed on your Computadora, you need to uninstall it to make sure the exam works. The Grammarly plugin, for some reason, it messes with the delivery of the test. So you got to uninstall it. You're welcome to use spell check and grammar check through things like Google Docs. But Grammarly, the specific plugin, impedes the exam from loading. So make sure you uninstall Grammarly. And I would suggest uninstalling any extension you don't need, just to make sure your computer is running as fast as possible. So that includes like Screencastify or any other kind of pop-ups that you might have on your computer. So just uninstall the extensions, and then you can reinstall them when exams are done. That is that. Yeah, your docs that you type in, you've got to have your AP ID at the top, which will be the same on your ticket. And then you also need to write your initials, but that's pretty much it. Something that I'm going to be doing for my Google Docs. Yeah, I always wonder what my autocomplete will say when I'm in the middle of a presentation. So in your Google Doc, my default is one, not 1 inch margins. It's like 0.5 inch margins, which really kind of spreads everything out. But I do that for handouts for my classes, so they're easier to print on one piece of paper. If I was you, I would just make sure that your margins are like 1, just to make it as easy to read as you type. So just make sure your documents are set up to like their default or what will be most readable as you type. My computer's running super slow. Just have your doc ready to go. You got your AP ID up here. You got your initials, and then you're ready to go. Because we only have one question, we're able to just have one document for our AP Lit exam. But if you have another AP class, you might have to use several different documents, one doc for each question. So just be aware that what you need to get your setup going, and have this all ready to go. If you could also try to turn on, like, I don't know how to do that from here, but you can do offline editing, just in case of any kind of internet outage, so you don't lose your details and lose your work. So what I love about Google Docs is that if it's connected to the internet, you're going to have your changes saved. So if you receive some kind of outage or experience some kind of outage, I don't want you to lose your work in the middle of the test. So yeah, that's my talk about tech. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. I want to talk about the cheating thing. Oh yeah, here we go. Advice about optional resources. So you can use class resources and class notes on this year's AP exams. You can use class notes or study guides, textbooks, other classroom resources, previous assignments or assessments, calculators, certain exams. But note, shared study notes must be downloaded to each student's device to prevent collaboration violations. So make sure in whatever document that you have loaded up, if you've done any kind of group studying, click on download, click on make a copy. Just get it off of the internet and save it only so you can see it. And that way we don't get charged with sharing ideas as we are working on our exams. I love this point here. Internet searches will waste your time and put you at risk of an exam violation. The more time you spend searching the web, the less time you spend answering exam questions. Let me give you an example real quick. Here is an example here. I have this passage from last week. The word eulogies comes up. I'm reading it. What if I don't know what eulogies means? Is it a good idea to just go here and then start searching the meaning of words? I'm going to argue no. don't start Googling anything as you're reading. Only focus on the text here. And if you don't have a word, there's at least 600 or 700 other words that you can look at and think about in the passage. So it's all kind of part of the process, is really just finding evidence that works for the argument you'd like to make. But if you're at risk of, like, for instance, copying a definition out of Google and using that in your passage or in your response, and now you're suddenly starting to commit minor plagiarism errors on your exam because you're just looking up words you don't know. So don't worry about unknown facts. If it's a really tough word that you haven't encountered before, they will define it for you at the bottom of the passages. Don't waste time with a Google search. Okay. It's all about the skill of creating a literary argument and supporting it and building your response. So, and there's a whole page about open book tips. There's a FAQ that answers a lot of questions that you might be having or maybe didn't know you had. Like, for instance, well, if I use an outside source and I cite it properly, is that allowed? And their answer is just like, don't do that. Using outside source doesn't have anything to do with like successfully doing any of the tasks. They're designed for you to do them by yourself without sources, just like the original AP test. So, okay, remember these two dates: May the 4th, Star Wars Day. That's where you're going to look for your confirmation email. And then please check 2 days before the exam you're signed up to take for your ticket. So this is May 11th, this exam, or the date on the right. And then May 4th is today. So check your email, make sure you get that. We talked about the checklists. Let's see here. Here's the exam day outline. So 30 minutes before your time. So at 1:30, you're going to check in, use your e-ticket, complete your identity information, and then you'll just wait for the exam to begin. And then at the 2 o'clock, a 40 or 50-minute timer starts. You begin and work on the question, develop your response on your word processing document, and then when the timer's flashing 5 minutes, that's when you submit a response, and then your exam is done. Yay! Easy for us, because English and history is just one question. For your other 2-question exams, good luck with that. It's a little bit more waiting between questions and doing. Yeah, all right. I'm excited that 45 minutes is all you need, and you're going to knock it out the park. Please ask. Okay, so let's talk about testing environment at your home, and then plagiarism. And then I think we'll be pretty much done here. First off, remove as many distractions as you can from your environment, whether that is your cell phone, any kind of music making devices. I believe they said in an FAQ, are you allowed to use headphones during the exam? And they said you could use headphones for noise cancellation. So if you have to want to drown out your siblings by putting on some earmuffs or noise canceling headphones, you could do that. So that's something to keep in mind if that's something that'll help you stay focused. Ask and let your parents and guardian siblings know that you'll be testing so they won't disturb you. Should have got water. Make sure your device is plugged in. And if you have limited bandwidth, please ask people in your house to not do things like streaming Netflix or uploading pictures or things like that. I guess gaming might also cause some lag on your system, but honestly, like, the worst thing is probably just to be doing Netflix or downloading BitTorrent files and things. Okay, you have your checklist. All right, the last thing is exam security. You may not incorporate work which is not your own, and you may not provide or receive aid of any kind from anyone. This is somebody in your house or somebody online, or social media, on the web, or over phone. Please do not seek out or accept any kind of help from anybody. Okay, so they have sophisticated detection technologies they're using. Most techniques will remain confidential to maximize their effectiveness. We will be monitoring social media and discussion sites to detect and disrupt cheating. We also may post content designed to confuse and deter those who attempt to cheat. Attempts to cheat will be detected immediately during testing or will be identified in June and July simultaneously with exam scoring. So your work is also going to be scanned by plagiarism detection software and shared directly with me. So I know how you write because I've read so many of your essays. If I see any red flags, obviously that's going to be a problem. So please write your own essay. If you are found violating exam security, expect your names to be reported to college admissions for cheating and your AP exam scores are canceled. Let's say you got an awesome AP stats score, but then you cheated on your AP lit exam. I'm guessing they're going to cancel all your scores. So please do not put yourself at risk. I'm sure you guys won't. You guys have the skills to do this without cheating. So you got it. Okay, I have run down all the things. The rest of this is going to be kind of covered in the demo. I've already talked about requesting a makeup. Oh yes, the last thing. To request your score, you have to pay them no later than June 20. Tell them what colleges or universities you want to get your scores. You don't have to pay them before June 20 to do that. And then after June 20, you pay $15 for each score report sent. So you'll go in on my AP before June to say, hey, U of M Dearborn, here's my scores. The last slides they have here for you kind of talked to you about how colleges are still committed to giving you credit for this if you're testing through the College Board. So I'll read a couple. Purdue will continue to accept AP credit as usual. Undergraduate admins will accept scores from any modified testing and credit policies that College Board puts in place. That's Virginia Tech. We even had one from Western. WMU will not penalize students who must take online AP exams this spring and will continue to award credit as we always have. Expect the same sort of treatment by colleges for AP exams. This is obviously a weird year for testing, but the College Board has done a lot to make sure these exams are still secure and still reflect that you have learned the material required for college credit. So don't feel uninclined or feel dissuaded from trying your best on these exams. So please do your best. Here's a final quote. During this challenging time, the AP program wants every interested AP student to have the opportunity to earn college credit they've been working towards all year. Stay safe and healthy. Yay. Yeah, we're not done though. I have 2 more slides left. The demo. Go here for the demo. AP 2020. This loads up. You got to fill out your personal details. Basically, you just type in your birth date, you confirm your email address, and then they'll present you with a demo exam. So you'll see exactly what the interface looks like. You'll even be able to practice uploading a response. I believe the practice asks you to write about any books that you've been reading lately. And then that was my practice one. And the timer for that, I believe, is 10 minutes. The last 2 slides here. Key things, key takeaways. Please review your contact info from the College Board website at this link, myap.collegeboard.org. Do your tech check. Make sure your Chromebook or other device is working perfectly for the exam. Mainly uninstall Grammarly. Make sure Chrome is all up to date. I would suggest closing any tabs you don't need for the exam, having a completely clean computer, and maybe even doing a little restart the morning of the exam just to make sure that your computer is not going to freeze up. Set up your document in Google Docs with your initials and any of the exam reference docs. Go ahead and print those out or make a copy of them so they're not shared with anyone. Lastly, make sure you're looking for your ticket on May 11th. So we're ready to get into the exam. You should already have an email in your inbox that lists the exams you're registered for if you're signed up with a College Board. Please do this in the next 2 days. Write down a list of the AP exams you're taking and the times. Bring that list to your parents, your guardians. Explain to them what you need from them to help you be successful, whether it's silence, help with the focus, maybe just them waking you up so you don't sleep till 2 o'clock and miss the beginning of the exam, so please get them to help you out. And then lastly, practice. Practice the FRQ 5 and 6. I believe, well, 5 is locked now, but I only had like 6 people skip that. So like 83% of students did that. So look for your grades for that today and tomorrow, and you'll see your feedback you can then use on this week's. But my suggestion is to reenact the entire testing situation. Set the timer so you have the same kind of timer going. Use your reference docs. Put away all the distractions such as cell phones. Ask the people around you to just pretend that you're taking the AP test and see if they can do it. And it's practice not only for you, but for your family as well. And then lastly, the demo. And remember, the demo is separate from the practice I've assigned. It's on a different website. The practice is through AP Classroom. The demo is just the College Board's module to show you that the exam will work on your computer. So make sure you're doing the demo. If you are not signed up through the College Board to take the exam, we're happy to have you with us, but you don't have to do the demo because obviously you won't be using it. If you're not signed up to take the AP exam, expect to receive the same prompt that your classmates are writing on Wednesday next week. So I'm hoping Thursday I'll have it live for you, but basically it'll be your final essay. I'll ask you to time yourself and write me your final FRQ as a sort of final exam. So you're preparing for the same thing that everyone else is preparing. Sadly, you're just not going to be, in the situation where you might receive college credit. Instead, you'll receive a grade from me for your final exam. So I know some of you here are not registered to take the AP exam, and that's okay. That's a choice you make. But you'll still write that essay, and you'll still have to show me what you learned this semester. Okay, 3 minutes left before my 2 o'clock time is up. If you have any questions, please shoot them my way via the chat window, and I will answer them. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to ask any questions you have. Just drop them in the chat. Thank you all for attending, and I will cease recording now, so then you can all wish me goodbye and you won't be recorded. All right.